Boys and girls, your attention, please.
Hello, welcome back inside the Park for Mayor for podcast number 956. This is Todd,
No, Todd, not
a.k.a. Negative Camber. You know why I was
You
asked
must convince the villagers that I'm harmless.
That's why I was asked you to come, to show up, to listen. Why not? Because tonight we're going to talk about F1 news. Wasn't a ton of news this week, but what news there was, oh boy, it's riveting. You won't want to miss a minute of this, really. And before I get into that news, of course, I got to go all the way to the right coast of our nation, nestled near our nation's capital. You know her, you love her, the lovely, the redoubtable
Grace!
Grace, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, Todd. Doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing all right. Now, Grace.
Yes.
I would like for you to explain to all the listeners. I posted some pictures of, because Grace and I said this on X. I said, have you guys ever had that one friend that just nails gift giving, that just gets the plot, that totally says everything that needs to be said to a gift? Grace is that friend. So she is awesome. She has sent me some of the most awesome gifts. So this week, out of nowhere, I get this Amazon package, and Grace explained to the listeners, that I had a couple of people saying, I don't know what the erasers are for. So explain to the listeners what you graciously, as a McLaren fan, sent a Ferrari fan.
So this actually came up a couple of podcasts ago, because when was the last time I had thought about this? Wow, 30 years, more than that, right? Like, so it's been a while. But you had mentioned taking the orange rectangle erasers that we had as kids, and you put like not pipe cleaners, you put paper clips, and then you put like buttons or something on the end to make a little race car, right? So I was like, well, you know, I'm gonna make Todd the aerodynamicist that Ferrari wishes they had, and I sent him his own little like make a successful Ferrari kit, and there's some erasers and paper clips, and
So for those watching this on YouTube, you can see I'm holding up. So these are Ticonderoga, those wedge. And, you know, if you look at that, you know, it starts to look like a car, right? With a tail wing and a front nose, right? And we used to draw the headlights and all that. Then with red paper clips, you stick those in the side.
Right.
And then Grace sent me the little red buttons for wheels, and you loop the paper clip through the two holes in the buttons, and you push that in the side of the eraser, right? And then you've got a brand new Ferrari that actually could possibly win something this year. As only a McLaren fan could do. It's just too good. It is so good. Because Grace and I were talking about it. I was saying when I was a little kid, I used to have those wedge erasers. I used to draw cars, and we used to make GT cars like Le Mans, right, when I was a kid. Yeah. And so she said that it was just so priceless. You know?
For a moment, I wasn't sure if they still made the Ticonderoga. I know they still make the pencils. I wasn't sure they made the big erasers, but they still do make the big erasers. They
totally do. And the upside of this is I got a lot of erasers, and I can make a lot of errors, which I do. So it's great.
Yeah, I remember, like, you know, you'd like, because then you'd carve in the like headlights, and you know, you'd like design the side of your cars, right? Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever?
And did you do that when you were little, or?
I did. I had an older brother, so this was a thing, right? Like, I'm sure on my own I may not have, but yes, he did that, and I remember, you know. I don't know. This is how we used to entertain ourselves back in the 1900s, right?
In the 1900s. Yeah, turn of the century. The Industrial Revolution. Yeah.
Correct. The 1900s. We had to use erasers, and you know, we played with a stick and a hoop. And
that's right. Use our imagination.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the way
we had
to
pretend things worked. But
it's so good. Well, thanks for sending that. That was just priceless. I was just laughing and laughing. It was just so good.
But it was really just because you had mentioned it, you know, like a month ago or something. I was like, I completely forgot about that childhood memory being pushed back in there somewhere.
It was so good. So good. Grace is awesome gift giver.
Anything to help Ferrari.
Well, you know, good heavens, we need it.
The Flex Seal was still the best one. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to top the Flex Seal.
The Flex Seal. So. She sent me a Flex Seal care package. It was just so good.
You know,
so good.
I mean, that was well done.
It was, and it was just fitting because, you know, it's Flex Seal, right? And, you know, it's, we talked about it a lot.
Hi, Phil Swift here from Flex Seal.
Right, we talked about it, and
yeah,
it's good stuff.
And it's more my price range than Mother's Polish, which was the other commercial at the time, which, like, if I'm going to buy you Mother's Polish, I need to know you're going to use it, right?
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Whereas Flex Seal, if you never use it, it was worth the gag, right? Like, there's definitely some price threshold on a gag gift, right?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, for sure. Which is kind of what the F1 cost cap is, isn't it?
That's right. We're not putting mother's polish kind of money into this. We're putting Flex Seal kind of money into it.
We're putting Flex Seal money into our team. Right.
That's right.
Yeah, I feel like maybe Alpine or Haas is maybe thinking Flex Seal.
Only Larry Stroll can afford to be doing this on a mother's polish budget.
Yes. Oh boy. Well, let's talk about some Formula One news.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. So, up in the news, I found this interesting. I kind of took some notes. I gleaned through the stories on the internet and different motoring F1 journalists' websites, and got a couple choice quotes and those kind of things. So, I had tip to the F1 journalists who wrote the story. I think got this from Autosport. F1 sprint race expansion. You heard that right. And we're going to talk about the value and the sheer cacophonous demand for more sprint races and the future trajectory of said sprint races. So Formula One actively pursuing a significant expansion of its sprint race format, driven by increasing demand, apparently, from who? Promoters.
Yeah, of course,
Of
right?
course.
Not the fans.
I can see that.
Who's
I can
asking
see
for
the
this?
promoters maybe thinking, hey, more racing over the weekend, and it's not Porsche Cup. I'm all in, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fair
No
enough.
more Saturday tickets. I mean, yeah, that
Right,
makes
right. I get that. Now, the next category is interesting. Positive fan and driver reception.
Okay, I don't. What
Okay.
does that mean?
Positive fan and driver reception, and a desire to enhance the overall Grand Prix weekend spectacle.
All right, I mean, I can get behind that. What is the positive? What? No booing? What is the positive reception of the drivers and the fans?
Yeah, apparently no booing.
Booing. Why is this a thing?
Well, listening to Stefano, you would think he's damn near getting canceled on social media because we don't have enough sprint races. So,
Yeah, I know,
Such
right?
is
Which
the
nobody's
call.
asking for. So, unless we're racing more races at Brazil, why are we having more sprint races? I stand by that.
I know. So let's unpack this. Let's talk a little
Right.
growing value or demand here as such.
Okay.
So promoter support. So we're talking about this. So F1 and the press say promoters are increasingly recognizing the value sprints offer, right? Bobby Epstein, who I know I've spoken to, nice enough guy, co-founder of Austin Circuit of the Americas, while not seeing what he calls a, quote, big uptick in ticket sales, he believes that the sprint format, quote, gives more value to the ticket and provides, quote, more content.
Okay, Austin is sold out. What more? What are you selling? Friday tickets? I mean, we were there 2 years ago for the MotoGP race, and the eclipse. So Austin was in the full eclipse,
Path.
locate. Yeah, path. I don't know path of totality. I'm like, what word am I looking for here, right? Look, they were in the path of totality, and that had happened a week, 3 days before we got there to go to the MotoGP race. And they're talking about how crazy it was, and there's so many people, and the only time it's more crazy is when the Formula One race is there, because that sells out.
There you go.
I don't know, Bobby Epstein, you're a very nice person, but what more tickets are you selling? You sell it out.
You're selling out.
Selling more Friday? Is that what you're interested in? I don't know.
I don't know.
'Cause
More
Sunday
Saturday,
is
yeah.
full.
Yeah, I don't know. So, not to be upstaged, one Tyler Epp of the Miami Grand Prix initially, quote, was very concerned about the value proposition, but has since conceded that he, quote, couldn't have been more wrong, citing a spike in Saturday attendance at the 2024 sprint event.
Well, Tyler Epps, you should have been concerned because your track sucks. Unlike Coda. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why you were concerned.
Maybe it's not sprint races. Maybe it's just,
I don't know. Quality of the racing. Maybe that's something. I don't know. I mean, I think that Yeah, and that you're not in Miami, you're in Miami Gardens. That might also have something to do with it. Whereas,
yes,
COTA is also not in like downtown Austin, but you can get to it. Austin is not that far.
Correct.
So I don't know. Spike in Saturday attendance. Is that what they're all? So then just give everybody a sprint race. I mean, to me, so when I've gone to races, I like all the different kinds of racing that happens in the course of the weekend, right? Because I don't watch any of this, right? Like I really only, especially now, I only watch Formula One. I don't really have time to watch any other, even if it's just a lower feeder series or F1 Academy or something, maybe there's some other thing that I'd like to be watching that I don't watch. It's kind of fun, I think, to go. I even like watching like the Ferrari challenges, whatever, the Porsche Cups, right? I think that there's something to. It's kind of like reading a book that you don't know anything about, or we're just, hey Todd, we're just gonna go see this movie. I don't know anything about it, right? So it's kind of fun to kind of just like go and you watch these guys racing or these women racing, and you just don't really know anything about it, and it's kind of fun, and then you go on with your life. I don't think it has to be all Formula One,
right,
all day. I don't see a need for that.
No, I'm with you. I kind of like, if there's a GP2 race, if there's a Porsche Cup, those are kind of fun. There's some other series that I've seen. But I'm from the Midwest, so going down to Tri-City Motor Speedway, quarter mile dirt oval and watching combine demolition derbies, that's kind of what we do.
Right.
So that's kind of fun.
Combine
if you've never
demolition,
seen one.
that'd be great.
Oh, it's great.
I've only played one on the PlayStation. They're a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
I mean, we definitely have demolition derbies here, but I've never seen them with the combines. I've never seen that in person. That sounds
great.
nuts.
It's always fun until somebody gets hurt, but yes.
Well, I mean, that is true of so many things.
Well, they knew the risk when they got in that combine.
Yeah, they signed on to that. But yeah,
so no, I agree with you. Look, if you're a promoter, I get it. If you're going to put more butts in seats, more activity on track, and it's the people that the fans want to see. They want to see Lando and everybody go at it hammer and tongs, and I get it. If from a promoter side, adding more value to the ticket with more racing and more high-profile racing over the weekend to get people definitely to come on a Saturday to watch F1 run on Saturday as well as Sunday. I mean, I understand it from a promoter side.
I just think that it can't, you have to do something the only thing you're going to do is get rid of practice, but especially since you've cut most of the testing out of the season, they kind of need practice. Are you just going to keep cutting practice and cutting practice?
Well, hold that thought. Hold that thought, because I'll get to what they're talking about with practice.
Okay, all right.
Let's talk about the positive reception they talk about. So public opinion and driver sentiment towards sprints are, quote, gradually trending more positive, said Stefano. Aside from some older now get this. Listen to the words here. Okay. All right. He said that they are gradually trending more positive. Aside from some older diehard fans, everyone wants sprint weekends. And adding that, quote, promoters pushed for this format, and now the drivers are interested as well.
Are they?
I don't know that they are, because that's just more
I can't imagine that
racing.
They are.
Like, think about, I always wonder about, think about those drivers in F1 that have these contracts and they're in the middle of one of their multi-year contracts, and all of a sudden it's like, well, we got sprint races. I didn't sign up to run races on Saturday. I'm not doing that. That's not my contract,
MotoGP, right?
Yeah. So, now maybe with the renewed, now you got to pay them more because they're actually racing on Saturday, right? So I don't know about the drivers. I got to say, I haven't heard, I'm not saying that they aren't. I don't know that it's been cacophonous. The drivers going, oh man, we love the sprint race. That's awesome, man. We should absolutely, maybe a few, and I'm sure Nico Rosberg's all excited about them. But beyond that, I don't know that it's just, they're over the top about it.
I don't hear it. I haven't heard anybody in the press conferences be like, hey, sprint. Even after the sprints, they're not like, wow, we should do these every week.
I know.
I have never heard somebody say that. Again, when they introduced the idea of doing sprint races, to me, this makes sense for the fans, right? If you're there on a weekend, you're there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, having a sprint race is fun, right? Like I enjoyed that. With MotoGP is the same way, right? Like the sprint race on Saturday is your last event, just like the race on Sunday is your last event. So you have all these other feeder series or whatever, you know, whether they're professional or amateur, that lead up to that sprint race. So it does give you an anchor for Saturday, especially if you're in America and like the GP2 doesn't travel, right?
Yep.
Like, because if with IndyCar, when they would have Saturday is like Indy Light Day, right?
Yep.
So you have your feeder series on Saturday, and then you have, you know, the top series on Sunday or something like that.
Right.
I could see that, especially when you're at a track that's not in Europe or where the GP2 isn't racing, it would be nice to have more Formula One. But I just think Formula One isn't the same as MotoGP. But even at that, MotoGP often just becomes like practice 4 is the sprint, right? It's not necessarily a great event. It's just kind of more practice.
I've watched MotoGP this whole year with the sprints and all that, and I don't know, the sprints are okay, but
everybody's figured it out now. I mean, it was the same way in Formula One. Like, the first sprint race, great, because nobody knew what to expect and nobody knew how to run their weekend, but it only takes one weekend and they go, okay, we got it now.
Yeah, it's just, and I think this is unique wording where he says gradually trending more positive.
I'd love to see the charts, because this is the other thing. Like, I don't know if any of you have ever looked at like metrics like off of your phone or like a exercise track or something like that.
Yeah.
You always have to watch what the axes are recording, right? Because it can look like, oh my God, there's a huge jump in your heart rate, but it's not. It's because the axis, you know, the scale on the axes were changed, right? And so it's like, oh, it was really only a 1 point change, but you know what I mean? So you always have to look for that. That's a way to kind of like manipulate graphs. Was that what's going on here? What do you mean a gradually positive?
Well, and if it's only gradually trending, why would you go all in on it?
Oh, because you know why, right? Because that's what he wants. That's what the supporters want. And they're just backing their way into why this is a thing, right?
So there's a few things that I've seen coming out of stuff
survey
that have me, you know, it's like, oh, aside from some old diehard fans, which we're really not that interested in, we don't care what they think. Thanks for saying that out
loud.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for saying that.
At least Bernie pretended that it mattered.
Yeah, right. You know, careful with that axe, Eugene. Because after all, the Fairweather fans and sports fans have tired of it. Well, they already have. You know, to the point the other day I was reading. Well, now he's thinking that they need to make races shorter because there's new fans to Formula One and they're not watching the whole race, so they're just watching the highlight reel. Well, okay. Wait a minute. So now you're going to make the race shorter to do what? To try to get these new fans to watch an entire race? I'll tell you why they're not watching the entire race. They got all hooked into the drama of DTS, but that drama doesn't happen on a week-to-week basis. It just isn't there in the series. And so to watch the whole race and there's little passing, and all of a sudden it's kind of like yawn fest. So then they just watch the highlight reel, right? And I get it, because they just want that condensed sort of narrative, and that's what DTS delivered. You know, right or wrong, I enjoyed it, but it's just, you know, so now to artificially impact it and shorten your races on what metric, what study, what A/B testing have you done to even suggest that you're going to overwhelmingly retain new fans while not overwhelmingly jettisoning your legacy fans?
I don't, especially when you it's not one or the other, right? If you improve the racing, guess what? We'll all stay.
That's just it. That's
you know, right?
The point.
It's not new or old, and we only value the new and not the old. No, if you just made a good thing that we all want to watch, you'll keep all of us. But I agree with you. I mean, this is the same. This came out of the F1 movie that they were talking about how like everything that's portrayed in that movie has happened in real life. Yes, but over the course of like 30 years, not 7 races.
Right.
Right. So if you watch that movie and you think, wow, that must be what Formula One is like, and their response as the directors was, well, that stuff's all happened in real life. Yeah, you're gonna be there. That's craziness. That is just not how a 7 race end of the series ever is gonna run. Right. And it's a movie. I get that. But why you say things like, well, these have all happened. Yeah. Okay. Not really. Yeah. Not like that.
Right. So
people the wrong way.
I think the wording here to describe the positive reception and demand from fans and the positive reception and demand for drivers is very weak, in my opinion. I don't think those are strong catalysts to make a move like that, to dramatically expand sprint races. if you're doing it for the money, just say that. I'd respect you more.
We're just doing it, yeah. Or
Yeah.
just say, again, because I can even see we found it successful. The tracks we do it, it makes the day of experience better. It means more people buy Saturday tickets, or if you buy Friday, Saturday, Sunday tickets, because sometimes that's the best deal, right? It gives you something to watch on Saturday. That's fine. I get it. A nerd, an anorak like me, anytime there are cars on the track, I want to go watch it. From 8 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon, I am there watching it. And it doesn't matter to me if it is like, it's like going to the rodeo. It could be kids riding sheep. I'm going to go watch that.
I'm watching it.
Right. Yeah. That's what we're going to do. I get it. Not everybody wants that. So then you can spice up the show, but just say that. People are here to see, it's what you said. People are here to see Formula One. We're trying to get more Formula One out there. So we're going to try having more sprint races on more Saturdays because fans like watching that. And we're trying to bring in people that may not go see Formula One otherwise.
Yeah, I think it all kind of boils down to when he was talking about shortening the races, I saw a lot of articles that were sort of, trying to unpack that concept and is that right or wrong or whatever. And there's a lot of opinion on it. But from my perspective, I didn't really read many of them that the first thing that just jumped to my mind was this is all about retaining the DTS crowd because you're losing them. And you're losing them because, quite honestly,
bill of goods.
Yeah, your DTS season was a season condensed in the highlights and the most entertaining elements, and then the scripting and narrative was woven to build the drama. But that's not what Formula One's really like on a day-to-day, week out basis. And so the expectation based on the back of DTS and the reality are quite a bit different, right? And so for the casual sports fan who got into Formula One on DTS, they're probably, maybe their interest isn't that great anymore, because they've tried watching a season or two and, it isn't captivating them and they're off back to a different sport or whatever. And that's fine. That's normal. And I think even back then when they had the explosion, we said, I said that these fans, the percentage of retention of these fans is going to be a lot smaller than what they think they are. We all talked about, oh my gosh, there's just throngs of new fans, and there have been, right? The attendance of races is radically up. Yeah. Formula One's grown. There's no doubt the impact, and nobody would doubt that. But retaining that energy and that commitment and those new fans is where you and I talked about a few years ago. That's the hard part. Yeah. And so I think F1 has to be smart about it in the sense that they're not going to retain 100% of them or 90% or 80. It's probably, if you can hang on to 30% of them and add that to your existing legacy, viewership, it's a good thing. But to do something that's sort of panicky, trying to shorten races and more sprints and spicing up the show and doing these sort of things is F1's race management strategy that would be akin to DRS or HD tires. You're coming up with artificial, constructs to try to make the series still retain that viewership that you got in a very unique pandemic world. And I think that now you run the risk of not only losing them, but losing your long-term fans either, because if it becomes too much of just a show and manipulated constructs and stuff like that, I think you're going to start doing damage to your legacy viewership too at some point.
So I just want to say, and I will say it again, and Stefano Domenicali, if you happen to be listening to the show, know what will solve all of your problems?
Better racing.
Bring refueling back.
Refueling. I'm there. I'm with you. Bring refueling back. 8-second pit stops.
That's what makes it interesting. That's what makes you actually lose time to come into the pits. Make it worth it, right?
Yep.
That's it. I think that if you just brought back refueling, all your problems would be solved, and yet it doesn't happen.
I know. Bring back refueling, and then, you get those magical moments where Ferrari and Schumacher start on a light fuel load. run like hell and pull out enough of a gap that they can box for 8 seconds and fill it up, and then it puts them out of sequence, and then they win races. It just, that whole strategy window gets exponentially more difficult when you have refueling, because you never know who's running heavy, who's running light, and all those sort of things, So I think I agree with you 100%.
Just do that, and then problem solved. Then you don't have to get sprinklers. You know that sprint races, and you don't have to.
You don't need 30-minute races.
Tires and that's There's something, and I will also say too that I think all sports have an ebb and a flow to them, whether it's basketball or football. Even though they're more stick and ball sports, there's just more action necessarily.
Yeah.
Basketball is the same way. Like if I'm at a game and I'm like, oh, I need to use the restroom, I can plan when to do that.
Yeah.
Right? Like when the game kind of like dips down a little bit. And same thing with football. Like, oh, I'm going to go get a hot dog. Okay, so you can kind of plan when that dip is going to happen, because nobody can just maintain that for a whole 2 hours or whatever. So yeah, you got it. All sports have an ebb and a flow to them, and you can't get too excited when your team is up right before halftime, because after halftime it could be a disaster. It's not like Formula One speaks as if they're the only ones that face this. You're not. Lots of sports have this, but if people are going to go to baseball, people will go to Formula One and just bring back refueling, and it's fixed.
And there's a little bit of precedent out there about monkeying with the formats and links and stuff like that. I don't think F1 has to look much further than NASCAR to see the impact that had on its legacy viewers. They all just like, we're done. And then the new fans didn't stick around, and they had the whole race for the chase, for the cup, for the thing, and the shootout, and the playoffs, and the championships, and the run 30 laps, and then it's a timeout, and everybody comes. It's just the whole thing was horribly manipulated and lost the entire spirit of what NASCAR really was, and people left in droves. So I think F1 is dangerously close from making those similar mistakes.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
Planned expansion and future vision is my next heading. Right. Targeted increase by 2027. That's right. While the number of sprints will remain at 6 for the 2026 season, discussions are, quote, ongoing to increase that number to around 10 as early as 2027. The expansion would require support from Formula One management. That would be the commercial rights holder, formerly owned by one Bernard Eccleston. The FIA, the governing body, that would be Eddie Everywhere, MBS, and the teams. So that's how that goes. Now, Domenicali's vision for a uniform format. Okay. Now, this gets into MotoGP land, right? So Stefano said he's basically pushing for a more consistent sprint presence, stating, quote, I can guarantee that in a few years there will be the demand to have all weekends with the same format. He acknowledged a maturation process that respects a more traditionalist approach and does not foresee reaching MotoGP's sprint at every round. He said that's too big of a step immediately. I would think the cost would be a major issue. One front wing, what is that, a couple €100,000 for one front wing? I mean, we're talking about a different cost structure proportionally than MotoGP. Now, maybe in MotoGP, their budgets aren't as big, so dumping a bike and destroying the fairing on the front left is probably proportionally similar to that team in cost structure as F1. I'm guessing. I don't know that, but we're talking about the limited number of engines they get in a weekend. Teams are going to tune them down. He's talking about enhancing radical format shakeups like reversed grids, those kind of things, shortened Grand Prix. And this is all getting into a whole wider discussion about it. And Bobby Essien even said, it's a tough balance to evolve and remain relevant without sacrificing the sport's rich heritage and tradition. And I agree with Bobby, and I think they need to be damn careful here.
So I guess when I hear him saying, like, we need, a more uniform format, I can read, right? Like, you get a schedule. I mean, even now, like, so I have, like, Formula One streaming, I have MotoGP streaming. I could watch all day if I wanted, right? Just like you're at the track. there's this thing, it's called an app, and you just put in what race it is. Now they even convert to your time zone. It's amazing, right? Like you don't even have to do math anymore. And you can be like, oh, you know what right now is on is this. Do I want to watch that? Yeah, I'd love to watch that. Let's go watch that live. I can read the format doesn't have to be the same, right? Like I'm not sure why that is a driving force for people that like, oh man, I've always really wanted to go to race X. What? They don't have a sprint on Saturday? I guess I won't go.
Well,
I don't know who's saying that.
Yeah, and maybe the confusion is he's saying they want every weekend to be consistent. That on Friday's practice, Saturday's sprint, Sunday's race, and that's predictable, and they know every weekend. Well, because right now it's confusing. You know, as you're sitting at home, it's like, okay, well, wait a minute, is this a sprint week? No, well, wait a minute. Next week is a sprint race?
You know how you solve that?
Don't have sprint races.
Well, that too, but you pull up the little app, or I don't know, you use your little thumbs and you do your little Google search, and you go, oh, is this a sprint weekend? Right. I don't know. This is not hard. Every team has an app. Formula One has its own app. This isn't this isn't the early 2000s when I started watching the sport, and you were like, I think it's on at 6. I don't know. Yeah. Right? Because all I had was whatever guide Speed put up. And if they were wrong, I was wrong and I watched the wrong time. That is not the case anymore. I don't even have to watch it on TV. It's
like somebody's got all bent out of shape because they didn't know it was a sprint race on Saturday. They missed it. And Saturday night is like, well, watch it. You recorded it.
Yeah. You don't have to use a VCR anymore, people. Like, no. I just have no sympathy for this idea of like, oh, no, it was a sprint race. I forgot. Guess what? You could watch it today.
Yeah, now. Yeah.
You didn't miss anything.
You know, it's not like you're Paul and you've got a VHS there with the time flashing 24/7.
Right.
You know, it's not that.
You can set whatever DVR recording device to record every Formula One thing. Everything has Formula One in it. It's just like every actor,
right.
you know, you get it all, right?
It's like Paul's like, record every West Ham game.
Right.
You know, and he'll get all of them.
That's right. That's it. This isn't hard. I don't understand why this is a difficulty.
Yeah. I don't know. Let us know what you think on this issue. Leave a comment. And if you watch this on YouTube and you don't subscribe, I guess I just got to ask, why not? It doesn't cost anything. It just means you support us. You're there, right? I mean, that's not hard. Just, I mean, where's the subscribe, right?
That's right.
Even if you don't watch the YouTube videos and you still like the podcast best, that's great. But you can go to YouTube and hit subscribe, right?
That's right.
Why not?
That's right.
So let us know what you think. Leave a comment. If you love the sprint races, let us know what you think about it. I'm you know, I could take it or leave it because I think the whole approach to a sprint race, they just kind of, at some level, kind of phone it in a little. They don't want to damage the cars. They're not going to go for it like they will in a race.
Like it becomes the all-star game, or
it kind of does. Yeah, it's an all-star game.
Right? Like,
yeah.
Right? Like, oh.
I mean, you could think, well, because that's. Well, why is he talking about reverses? Because he knows. He knows that they don't go at it hammer and tongs in the sprint race. They don't want to mess up the car, so they reverse the grid. Why? Because, I mean, all it is a preview. I mean, it's like same for MotoGP. It's there, like, Marquez, how many sprints has he won? All but 2?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I mean, so, okay, well, that's predictable as hell. Let's reverse the grid and put Mark at the very back. And he's going to have to work to really get up there. I don't know, within some reason. But in MotoGP, the wrong move could have Mark out for the rest of the season. So he's not going to go at it like a MotoGP race.
I think the other thing, too, is that there is more to racing than it. This is like only watching football for quarterbacks. There's a lot more to football than quarterbacks. And yes, if you asked me, Grace, name 10 NFL players, probably 8 of the 10 are quarterbacks. But they're not the only people on the track.
No.
And so if you're only watching to see who's first, then you're doing a disservice to the sport. There's always a lot of good stuff mid-pack. Yeah. There's always something other than just the front. If that's the only reason you're watching, then you are going to be bored. But again, I stand by that's true of every sport. If you're only watching for touchdowns, just wait to the end of red zone, watch the touchdown montage, save yourself a day.
That's right. And
right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. For me, I'm one of those weirdos, and it's not because I've been watching Formula One my whole life. It's just, it appeals to me because that's the sport that I love, and one element of the sport I love is watching. I used to really all right, I'll keep it more relevant and current. So I'm not going to well, I used to love Yoke and Rent when he used to. I'm not going to say that. Let me pick something. Oh, one thing. One thing I really enjoyed about Friday's practice sessions is watching the team run their programs. And kind of what they're running when they're running heavy fuel, race sims, quali sims, those kind of things. I loved watching Lewis Hamilton on the first Friday practice section explored every single facet of that track and push every single corner. And a lot of times he'd run off track, he'd run wide, or like, oh, Lewis is looking real ragged. No. That's all by design. He was finding out the limits of every single corner with the car setup, and then they would fine-tune that up. I love watching cars come into the window and watching the team get that car. Yeah, you look at Max on Friday, FP1 versus FP3 in Monza. That was a Herculean effort by the team to turn that around. I love watching that. Why? Because I love the team members. I love the mechanics, the engineers, the people that put that whole program together. I love watching that. And like I said, I would be sad if everything's a sprint weekend. You get one Friday practice session, and then we get to watch one half-hearted half race, and then we go into Sunday and watch the race. I'd miss all of that car setup and development and watching the drivers apply their skills.
And I think the other thing, too, is that you have so much more advantage now because there are plenty of people. Like, I remember when we went to Austin for the first time, and I was at the track with Paul, and Paul was just pointing things out to me. And that was my big takeaway. Like, whatever you do, take a Paul with you. Yeah. Well, now with the invention of the internet, you have Pauls all over the place. And you can get somebody of different, what you're interested in, right? Yeah. And so I just think that there's so much more information out there now. You don't have to wait for some magazine from England to come like 2 weeks late, right? Yep. You know what I mean? Like, there's all this ability to why should I watch this? Or what if I'm gonna sit down and watch P3, what am I watching for? Why do people watch this? Right? Like, you can find this information, find these answers, and that'll make you better at the sport. It's just like I remember, watching football, and Flip would, they'd line up at the line of scrimmage and Flip would go, ooh, and I'm like, wait, pause it. Why did you say that? Like, there's something that you see in the way they've lined up that I don't see. Yep. And then you'd go to the board and he'd be like, well, you see how this guy is over here, and that means he's going to do this, and then this guy's going to go like this, and that guy's going to go like, right?
It's a Flip chalk talk.
It absolutely, right? But then there's something to it, because then I was able to learn more from that and go, okay, you're right. And playing Madden helps too. But, you can get into that, and there's a space for that. And I think that don't take that away just because people haven't made that investment yet. Yeah. Get them to make that investment. I mean, Formula One streaming, their channel's full of this stuff.
I know.
Just sit there and listen to it, and you can learn some things. Like, what does this flappy bit versus that flappy bit do? Right. Dig into it. You should be encouraging people to dig into it, not dig out of it and just watch it for the fluffy stuff.
Right. Get into Friday practices, FP1, 2, and 3. What do the teams usually do and why? And what are we watching? Are we watching sector times, and which sector are we watching for, right? Well, notice the sector 1, what kind of fuel loads. And I would say that the teams don't disclose a lot of information. This is all strategy, of course. Right. But there's enough smart people on Sky's group that know what they're doing and what they're running. And
just listen to the Races podcast or something. It's not like you have to dig for this information anymore. You can find professional podcasters that'll tell you this, or professional YouTubers that'll tell you these things. Yeah. Dig into it. Become an anorak. Be a fan. Don't be a fan. Let's see. Oh, the next story I found interesting. Red Bull Racing's resurgent in Monza. Yes. A couple stories coming out of this. So one of the things Paul and I mentioned last week in the race review was, Max's resurgence at Monza and how fast he was. And I even made the remark that George Russell was like, I don't know how they're 40 seconds behind everybody, their leaders in the last race, and then they win by 20, and so they had this newfound pace, right? So they did come with a Monza setup. Paul and I talked about it, new rear wing. They had some upgrades. Max
pushed them in a setup direction that was different than what the simulator was telling them. They listened to Max, and he put it on pole and won the race, right?
Imagine that.
Imagine that, right?
Imagine that. Max
Who
said,
knew?
I know some stuff, right?
So the big question then was, okay, well, is that a Monza? Did Monza flatter the car because it was a Monza setup, and will it go back to what we've seen for the rest of the season proceeding at Baku, right? Or is this newfound real pace to the end of the season, right? Big question mark. Right. Most believe that it is Monza specific. But I thought, well, let me go see what everybody's saying, because the team's going to be throwing out smoke signals, but I wanted to hear what other people in the paddock were thinking, right? Interesting, what I found was this story first. So they've had a performance upturn, as the press is calling it, since Laurent Mekies took over from Christian Horner.
Imagine that.
And this resurgence is attributed to Mekies' technical leadership. And this is what's going on. His impact and shift in leadership philosophy was one of the highlights. Helmut Marko, Red Bull's motorsport advisor, said, that he's doing a great job. He heaped praise on the impact that Laurent Mekies had. And he was saying, particularly on the technical side, Mekies, an ex-race engineer, embodies a recent trend in F1 teams appointing ex-engineers rather than all-encompassing business-like leaders such as Horner. Yes, and it's given the complexity of Formula One, having a technical expert at the top is probably the better solution. Who knew? And he said there's a whole sort of improved technical collaboration going on under Mekies. The whole technical team is more open, and they discuss things, and they're not blind to what the simulation says. The structure of the technical approach has led to visible results. And with Marco noting that it's not how much structured, it's not much more structured from a technical perspective.
Right.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me try this in English. It's now much more structured from a technical perspective. And when everything works together and the driver is integrated in the process, you can see the results. It's like we saw in Monza.
Imagine that.
So since Mekies joined Red Bull, they've improved in the 4 Grand Prix that they've been in, with podiums and a win at Monza and a sprint win in Belgium. And this is all being laid at the feet of Laurent Mekies and how much better he is for the team than Christian Horner. So, Helmut and team a little bit on a PR campaign here.
Well, he just wants to make it clear whose side he's on.
Yes.
In case you're wondering, I'm all on this guy. He's my boss. I'm here with him. He's good. I like this guy. Better than that other guy. We don't talk about him anymore.
Right. I'm Team Mekies, right?
I just love the insight of, like, if you listen to your drivers, guess what? You'll do better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine.
Well, and that was the follow-up, because I was looking for, is this a one-off pace or not? Then I started finding these articles that a journalist wrote that said, the emphasis on driver feedback and reduced simulator reliance, that's really paid dividends. And Max had a tremendous influence. A key change is more reliance on driver feedback. At the Italian Grand Prix, Verstappen pushed against the setup change desired by some team members and eventually got his wish, leading to a dominant win, with Marco affirming the engineers are listening more to the driver now. If you have such a fast and experienced driver, I think that's the right way, end quote. It's like, is this a new theory in Formula One?
Right? Like, listen to your driver? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they listened to every freaking word Senna said.
You mean when Flip told me if I did X, he'd be really happy, and I just did X, and he's really happy? You mean that's how that works?
That's
I just listened to what he told me? Oh, my God.
It's amazing.
What a novel idea.
I mean, it was like, were they all these years they were telling Schumacher to shut his yap and sit down? Or were they actually listening to what he was saying the car was doing? I just love this whole new philosophy of driver input.
We listen to Max Verstappen. It's not like you have to listen to, like, Esteban Ocon.
Yeah.
You're listening to somebody with some chops behind him.
Max
right?
got some pedigree, doesn't he?
Right. Who's here like, oh, I don't know, Max, I don't know. He said it would be better that way. I'm not so sure. No, nobody says that. If he said do it this way, you go, okay, we'll do it that way, right?
Right.
I might know some things.
It's not like Red Bull's calling Logan Sargent and saying, hey, what do you think about our car, you know? It's Max.
That is correct. And so I think that if anything, it seems that Mekis is just more focused on just this job.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't seem to be as spread thin as Christian Horner was.
I think that's got to be a real key where he's 100% focused on this, where Christian was trying to run a new engine powertrain department, trying to run all the commercial side of Red Bull. He had a lot on his plate.
Yeah. And that's fine too. But, I think that just pick one thing and do it well. It seems to be paying off right now for them.
Yeah. Yeah, but I tend to think that the Monza pace was a Monza pace. I think in reality that's what it was. But like Paul said, you can never count it out. I mean, I doubt that they'll show up. But then Baku is long straights and fast and all that. They may be good at Baku and stuff. And some of the tracks coming up are pretty quick.
We'll see what Singapore looks like.
Yeah, Singapore and Baku is what I mentioned on last week.
We'll see what those look like. I agree with that.
Yeah, and if because they're long straights and fast, and Red Bull may do well there. But like Paul said, I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if all of a sudden they have this pace for the rest of the season. I wouldn't put anything past them. Do you guys remember this?
Who gets a penalty? Me? Are you joking? You're joking. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing I've heard in my life.
Well, it is the most ridiculous thing he heard in his life, Grace, because Williams and Carlos Sainz had his penalty overturned. The penalty he had at Zandvoort. He had a 10-second penalty plus 2 penalty points taken off his license for a collision with Liam Lawson in turn 1 in Zandvoort. And the stewards initially deemed Lawson had the right to the corner because his Racing Bulls cars was ahead of the apex. But, Grace, Sainz labeled the penalty as a complete joke, as we just heard, and questioned the level of F1 stewarding, and said it's a serious matter now that concerns me as a driver, and it's an issue, right? Lawson kind of defended it, saying, the regulations are written the way they were written. I tend to think, Grace, that the regulations and this whole clarification and everything, I think they want passing in Formula One, so these regulations are always going to favor the passer, not the person being passed. Yes.
Right.
And in this case, they did look at it and they reversed it, Grace.
I also love that this happened at Monza, where they have so much more time to make their case.
Right.
Like the radio, like if you can only listen to, like if you had to go rent the old headsets, if you could only do that at one track, do it at Monza, right? Because there's just more time that they have that they can just be putting their case together and saying things. And so I love that he's just like, you've got to be kidding me. What are you talking about? If we were at Monaco, it would be the other extreme, right? If we were at Monaco, it'd be like, whoa, what? Whoa, yeah, right? There's just not that kind of time to have some discussion with your team about how ridiculous this thing is that they've just done to you. So, lay off Carlos Sainz. Haven't you learned anything? Don't you watch this sport?
Come on, it's Chile.
That's right, Chile. He is the best strategist out there. Let him be. He knows what he's doing.
Well, the FIA overturned it and said, hey, look, basically it's a racing incident. Gave him his 2 points back on his license, although it didn't change the result of the race. He had a 10-second penalty he had to serve, so, it was what it was.
Cool.
So interesting. The one thing that was kind of interesting, I did see an article that raised this issue, is that typically to appeal something and get it overturned, the right of review typically requires significant, relevant, or unavailable evidence that the FI didn't have to make the call.
Right. That's right.
And that's why typically it's difficult to get a right of appeal or review of a penalty, because the team isn't really bringing anything on just an altercation between 2 cars. They have all the camera angles and the telemetry and all that. So what was really new. And typically if there's no new compelling evidence, then they'll just dismiss the review. But in this case, they didn't really, to my knowledge, in reading articles, they didn't really show up with a cavalcade of new evidence that the FIA somehow missed. They just said, hey, it's frustrating. We need to understand how to go racing in the future. That's what this is. We need to understand this clearer. And I find it interesting. And does it set a precedent now that you don't need compelling information the FIA does not have access to get a right review or overturn something, that now you can just say, hey, just trying to figure out how, we're going to go racing. Hey, just trying to figure out if that aerodynamic trick, how we're going to do that.
Asking for a friend. But I mean, that has to be part of it, right? Like if you're like, you know what, Grace, I don't like the way you were in that last podcast. Well, we're here for like an hour and a half and there's a lot of things I said. So you're going to have to narrow it down for me so I don't do it again. Right.
Right.
Like, so I think that there has to be some evidence of what was done wrong. What was so egregious so that you at least go, okay, maybe I don't agree with it, but I'm not doing that again. Right. Otherwise you're just like, what did I do? If you really believe you don't know what you did. But I do like this as a way of like, similar to the like asking for a friend. If I put this on my car, is that okay? Because I'm pretty sure they're putting it on their car.
Right.
Just wondering.
If we were gonna manufacture a new diffuser, it's our understanding that this would be okay if we made it.
Is this okay? Yeah. Right.
It's brilliant.
So I think, fair on them, and I think that was like. I don't know if you watch the Val's verdict videos, but he's always so composed. Like, what does angry James Val's look like? I want to see his feedback on this getting overturned. There, we would for sure see what angry James Val's looks like.
Throwing chairs across the room.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know what.
Maybe James has a short fuse. I doubt it. He's in Formula One. You can't have it.
No, but everything is. It's that same engineering like. I love you. I hate you. It's all the same flat engineering delivery, which is what makes James Valls great.
Yeah, I don't picture him as sort of that passive-aggressive kind of guy, though.
No, not at all. I don't think he would be successful in the sport. I think he would just be, I think this is fair. Like, I did not understand, so I asked the question. And when I asked the question, they went, oh, yeah, maybe this wasn't right.
Yeah, right. But
I do like how much, like, Carlos Sainz is like, it's always the same guy. It's always Lawson. Why is he always causing so many problems for me?
It is. I've said that for a long time. So, not Lawson. I was saying it for the guest steward, and I'm not naming names. You've heard me talk about before.
Well, I mean, I guess that is, to be clear, that is the actual takeaway here. Like, get some real stewards. That's the real takeaway, right?
That's right.
Get your act together.
Go
hire your own Simon Crafar, get your act together, right? Like, this isn't so hard.
We're trying. We're looking for new stewards. Yeah, we are.
Well, look faster, Todd.
Yes, look faster.
Right? Get some people that know what they're doing.
I know.
Hire Paul. Somebody out there's got to do this.
Yeah, why not Paul?
Right.
Paul's perfect for that. Let's see. Shall we do some Albin's Cats? It kind of feels like maybe we ought to do a little Albin's Cats. This is where we talk about stuff.
Not friendly. Not friendly.
That's what we talk about.
That's right.
Hello. Albin's Cats.
All right.
What do you got for us this week, Grace? And it has to be the images of Gunther sitting on the pit wall of his new team.
I welcome Gunther to MotoGP. It'll be good, right? Like, it'll be fine. And and a Tech 3, he'll fit right in. I mean, I agree. Yeah. We're all gonna miss Poncharal, but I think Gunther will be fine. It'll work out well. I absolutely, of course, want to talk about some MotoGP because it's not like we need to talk about the NFL this week for either of us. So we will just bypass that part of the show. I was like, well,
I'm off to a banging 0-2 start for my team.
Tonight's show will be shorter because we won't need to talk about any of that. So
Dynasty's over.
I did want to say, I wish that JPM would be hired by Formula One for all of their races. I enjoyed having JPM on the announcing team. Yeah, it was great. I love DC. I love the things he brings. The stories he tells are always ridiculous, and I enjoy them. And JPM though was just and the fact that he knows all the younger drivers was really great too because of his son. And so that rapport that he had with the drivers, it was just like, it wasn't just like, and here's Todd, some guy that races some things. He's like, Todd, I know you, and I saw you at this race, and we've talked before. And so that rapport I thought was really cool when they would bring on some of the younger drivers that JPM actually knew them on sort of a personal level. And of course, they know who he is, and they know who his son is. So I just thought that his insight was just really interesting. And there were many times that Davide Valsecchi would say something and JPM would just go, and that's not it at all. So we're going to talk about this other thing over here. Like, you're a nice balance. In the same way that I kind of like JPM, I like Jensen Button as kind of a balance to Crofty, right? Like that there's some balance that's provided there by having JPM there that kind of just like grounds everything into racing. And you can tell he does a lot of that kind of talking and teaching and mentorship that JPM is really good at kind of share, which I never would have thought. If you would have asked me 20 years ago, is this where I saw JPM? I never would have seen this.
No.
From who he was as a driver, but
who he was as a driver, you're absolutely right, Grace. Because I've interviewed him a few times.
Yeah.
I did the double, the Indy 500 and the Charlotte right after in the same day, and I did that twice. And the second time I did that, I got to interview all the Penske drivers, and JPM was there, And they have, and I've told this story before. They have PR handlers, and once you ask about a question or two, they drag. Well, we gotta go. Yeah. And she kept coming in and trying to take him away, and he was like, "No, I'm having a good conversation." And we must have talked for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Couldn't have been a nicer guy. It blew my whole perception of what I thought he would be like. Yeah. Versus what he really was. He was totally in the long grass on the car, the development setup. We talked about Indy. We talked about F1. His opinions on the teams at the time, the drivers and everything. He was absolutely delightful guy. A great interview. Yeah.
So, and I think that was great. And so I vote for like more JPM at more races. Yeah. He just really brought some racing insight into Formula One that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Of course, because we're not going to be talking about the NFL, that just gives me more space to talk about MotoGP, which I feel like there's a connection. So they were in Italy this weekend, and both Lando Norris and Kimi Antonelli were there. So there is a Formula One connection, and they did point out Lando on the broadcast. And then
who was Lando? Was he in one of the team's garage?
We was with Valentino Rossi, So when Bez won, like. Because there's a picture, there's Rossi's out there like, this is my guy, he did great. And Lando's right there like, he's my guy too. So, and there's a picture of them riding on a scooter together, right? Like out from the track. So I was there for that, right? Like hopefully some of that championship magic rubs off on Lando because we all could use that. But I thought that the sprint race, Vasecki, who knew? Like this was the challenge that I guess he needed because everybody would have thought the bike development was going to come from Martin, and when Jorge Martin got injured, it really fell on Bez, and he's really come up to the challenge, and he just seems to be really enjoying himself. And the leg celebration was great. Like for a long time, we're like, well, I don't know what's going on here, but sure, he's not riding around with a wooden leg. Who knew? So it was apparently there's some Italian. First of all, when he's then in the presser afterwards, and he's explaining there's this movie from my childhood about three guys in this wooden leg that's this art piece that they have to like get to this wedding, and he goes, from when I was a child in 1997. I'm like, you're killing me, man. I was a child in the 1900s. That's right. Yeah. When you were a child in 1997 and you watched this movie a lot, and you just thought it would be fun to like redesign your helmet, and and then you were able to celebrate with his leg, and but it was really fun, and I think that it really brings something to MotoGP. Sometimes the celebrations are a little forced, but I thought this one was a lot of fun, and then Marc Marquez winning, And then he did the Messi, and he came out with his uniform, and it was just like I just thought there was a real sea change for Marc Marquez being on a Ducati from last year at this time. So I think the Italians have really embraced him, and it's been such an interesting storyline. I mean, that's still happening for Marc Marquez, but it was just really kind of great to see that complete change for him and the Italian fans. So
Agreed.
they really have embraced him, and so there was some Formula One there going on.
All right, good. You ready for some no shit headlines?
Always.
All right,
it's my favorite.
First one up. Piastri and Norris say team is priority number one amid McLaren team order controversy.
Yeah, I know who butters my bread, right? Like,
sure
of course it is.
Sure it is. Yeah, I got your word on that, right? I mean, it's
Team first.
Team first, sure it is. Okay, we'll see how that goes. Let's see, next headline, watch dramatic moment. Now listen closely. Watch dramatic moment. Formula One wag seem her partner knocked off the track during risky Italian Grand Prix clash. Now, that's in a British newspaper. I don't know. Maybe the British see the word seen, S-E-E-N, and seem, S-S or S-E-E-M.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it's interchangeable over there in London. I have no idea. But here in America, seen and seem are completely two different words. Yes. Who knows? We're still on old measurement. Next one up is, by the way, that was Chili's girlfriend.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is such a weird, now they just, first of all, I forgot the whole, Charles Leclerc just sitting on the hillside with the phone, which and when they showed him, I was like, where did he get his phone from? Well, it turns out his photographer, he has a photographer, they just did a photo shoot. What is this glamour shots on the side of the track, which I just love that whole storyline too.
Right.
But I love that he's just sitting there like Fernando Alonso in a beach chair, just watching this race. And then Lando Norris is somewhere else on the track. I'm like, they should just walk around the track and watch the race together, right? Find your hillside together, sit on your phone, play some games, and watch the rest of this race together.
I agree.
It'll be fun.
This next one. Max Verstappen overtaken by 7 cars before first corner on, quote, embarrassing racing debut. So Max drove at Hockenheim, a sports car, this past weekend.
I think it'll be all right.
And I'm thinking, given the class he was in and the power deficit, I think most people think he did a pretty damn good job.
And I think the thing is that Max Verstappen would be like, what?
Yeah.
That doesn't...
What?
I mean, is this only really a storyline if he is the one that's like, I got passed by 7 people, I am terrible.
Yeah.
It's not what he said, so it's fine.
He'd
really
be like,
What does it all mean,
I
Basil?
don't know what it means. Clearly not a Max fan.
It's just somebody trying to make some clickbait headlines.
Yeah, that's rage bait. Let's see. And finally, iconic F1 track lined up for return to schedule almost a decade after last appearance, but desperately needs investment. Well, couldn't that be said of almost all former F1 tracks, like Malaysia, which I'd like to get back, or, couldn't they all be a possible, comeback? But if they got a bunch of a big investment,
or Magna Cores, I was like,
Magna Core, I don't know. The Watkins Glen, I don't know.
Oh, sure. I mean, but what track is like? Well, you're right. We don't need any investment. We're fine having 0 races. We're good.
Right. I mean,
We're just waiting.
It's like, well, if they got about a $400 or $500 million investment for upgrades, well, yeah, a lot of tracks could say that.
We're just waiting for Junior to show up with his little vial of dirt.
That's right. By the way, the track they're talking about is Hockenheim.
Well, yeah, we should bring Hockenheim back.
Yeah, which I agree. Germany needs a Grand Prix. I'm sorry. I hate to say that, but I kind of feel like it's in the European theater in Germany and not at the expense of Belgium, damn it. So that's
right. Get rid of Miami and bring back Hockenheim. How about we do that?
There you go. Because out there in the woods where the track used to be cool and go out into the woods and comes back, that's where Jim Clark perished. And there's a monument out there, and we don't get to see them go by that anymore. Let's see. Oh, well, shall we do this? Yeah, let me find it.
You've got mail.
Yeah, we got a mailbag. I got a DM from John in Exeter, and I tell you what, Exeter in the UK, we don't throw enough love out to Exeter. We just don't these days. We're always going on and on about Kent and Paul growing up in Essex and Kent and all that, and talking about Tom up in York. But we don't talk about Exeter very much. So I thought but I had to go back. He sent this like last week, kind of when the news broke, and I had to go back, and I can't remember. I thought it was on Instagram. I can't remember. But anyway, it was prescient, because his question was, given Dominicali wants shorter races, more sprints, younger fans, do you and Grace think F1 buying MotoGP is a good thing? Do you see parallels with their fan base, which didn't enjoy the influx of DTS sports fans? And I think what he was saying there, Grace, is like, F1 had all this huge influx of new fans, so they're desperate to keep them. MotoGP didn't get this huge influx of MotoGP fans. Do you think F1 doing some of these sort of entertainment focus, changing the series, do you think they'll go in, I think what he's asking, and ruin MotoGP?
Well, of course I don't want that. But no. I do stand by that. I think MotoGP is so much visually easier to understand what's going on. You can watch, like, if you had never watched a MotoGP race and you sat down, you can see it. You can see the bike. They show you the camera. It looks like the bike runs into the other bike. You can see how far they lean. You can see that it's like everybody fell off the bike this week, right? You can see it like go, and there it goes, right? Yeah. Like, it's just so much more visual, even if you don't understand mechanics at all. Whereas in Formula One, if you don't pay attention to all the squiggly bits and the mechanics and the changes, it is boring sometimes, because you are just watching cars drive around, right? There's just not that same sort of like visualness that you can get from MotoGP really easily. And so I think that if they had, they tried to do a Drive to Survive kind of idea, and it fell really flat, which again, I don't know how they managed that, but it did. But I think you did something like the Marc Marquez documentary was great.
Those are
very
great.
Well done. So I think if they could do a better production DTS for MotoGP, it would take off, because I think that you wouldn't lose people the same way you would watching Formula One. Because I think that's the other thing too, that I think people are very easy to forget. Many Formula One fans never go to a race or go to a handful of races. So that's true of any sport. I've watched more hockey than I've gone to hockey.
Yeah, of course.
But I could go to hockey. That's pretty easy. I can't just go to Formula One. That's not very easy for me.
That's a plane ride.
Right. And so there are many people that like watch this sport that have never gone to a race, or have only gone to a handful of races, because you just, it's not down the street like it would be if it was a stick and ball sport.
Yeah,
so how do those people get into this? And I think MotoGP is easier for that to stick, to watch a sport. I think that's what you have to pay attention to, is that what are you showing on TV? Because most people, that's their entree to the sport. They're never going to go to a race. They just can't. It's and so that's where you really need to think about, how do you package this? Yeah, you need to worry about the people trackside. They are the people paying money to come see this. And they are more diehard than perhaps the people that only ever watch at home. But yeah, don't ruin my sport. But I think I'm hopeful there's more potential for them to make it better and to learn from MotoGP. I don't think you have to like shut down all the fun. Don't take all the fun out of the sport. Right. I think that it's great. Even with Marquez dominating, I think it's still great racing to watch. And I think that they figured out, they use picture-in-picture all the time. Like, nobody cares anymore what Marc Marquez is doing. He's like 7,000 laps out there, right? But we're really interested in like 4, 5, 6. So let's put 4, 5, 6 on the main screen and put everybody else in a little box, and we're fine with that. I think they just do a better job of selling it to the home fans. And so
I agree.
You could do that. Don't mess it up, Formula One.
Don't mess it up.
I'm coming up for you, Dominicali.
Do not mess it up, whatever you do.
But bringing more money into a sport that could really use it could really make a big difference.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
I'm hopeful.
I am too. All right. Well, that does it for this week in this podcast. Let us know what you think about the Carlos penalty, about Red Bull, about driver input, this new philosophy of driver input. This new philosophy, where the approach is now, regardless of what the simulator tells us, we mix that with Max's experience and the experience of our engineers. There you go. That new philosophy.
When you send me notes, I'm actually supposed to read them before we do the show, so I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like that's how that's supposed to work.
See, Grace and I were talking about it before we started recording, and she said, "Oh yeah, well no, if I didn't get the notes, I'd let you know." And then we thought it would be a great idea. I said, "Well, Grace, even if I didn't do notes, you didn't get the notes, I think we could still pull off a show." And she said, "Yeah, probably." I said, "That's a great off season. No script, no notes show.
Old school.
We just show up with no notes." We may have to try that in the off season.
I think it'll be fun. I don't know how long the podcast will be, but it'll be pretty fun.
Yeah,
And
it'll be a
but
chin
yeah, I
wag.
mean that's right. Like, oh, Todd put all this effort to put all this information together, and if I actually read this information,
That's right.
maybe it would make the show better. Imagine that.
So anyway, all right. Well, we will be back next weekend, and we'll be talking about racing, of course. And if you like this podcast, go to your favorite podcast player, give us a good rating. We'd appreciate it. If you like this podcast, share it, post it, repost it, spread the news, if you would.
Ring the bell.
Yeah, ring the bell. Hit like on the YouTube.
Whatever else you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah. And share the podcast around, and I would appreciate that. As always, love it. A huge thank you, though. A special thank you to our Patreon supporters, because if we didn't have you folks, we couldn't and wouldn't do this podcast. So the only thing between us and No Park for May is our Patreon supporters. So we couldn't be more grateful for your support and all the love you guys give us. So a huge thank you. And until next weekend, when we come back to do it all over again, this is Todd, a.k.a. Negative Gamer, saying so long, Grace.
See you next week.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.